trying to get on that area there. But it makes a change being able to start out in the daylight. The seas have been massive recently. This is the first time they've kind of calmed down a fair bit. Still a couple of foot swell. Snow on the ground because it's -4. You'll probably be able to see the water colour is really good. Tides have been massive, 70 centimetre low tonight, so it's going to empty out, which is why I'm thinking of going to where you can see those waves breaking over there. That's a bit of an island that gets backfilled. And I'm hoping to get out onto it. Never fished it before, so we've got to be careful with getting cut off. As long as I'm sensible, shouldn't be an issue. That's normally available sort of 2 hours either side of low tide, because we've got about 4.5 hours till low tide. You can see all the confused water over there, and that's where the big skier goes out too, so it can chase the tide out as it drops. So first of all, we'll get set up on here and have a couple of casts into the beach. Now after my debacle last week of not having any rigs tied, I've gone and tied myself a load of rigs ready, prepped for a good night's fishing. I'm going to start off with my Old Faithful Paternoster rig. Deep tree. With a load of kelp in the water. Like I said earlier, it's been absolutely freezing and the seas have been massive, so I'm expecting a lot of kelp to be moving around. You can see the stalks sticking up in the water, which is alright. Swell's not massive, can handle a bit of kelp. I've also got some carp. Get a bit of that tied on later on. I'm just about to cast this out, and I know there's a big pile of rocks. You can see where these waves are kind of bucking up a bit, and that's where the rocks are. So I want to cast in this gully here. You can see there's very little swell sort of towards that second lighthouse in the background. Lighthouse, windmill, sorry. And then there's a rock edges around here, so I want to avoid that bit. Kind of want to cast out towards that second lighthouse. Can't stop saying it now. Second windmill. This doesn't need to go far, just in the right direction. That was almost perfect. First bait in the water, there we go. Still daylight, not the best time to fish for cod, but I had plenty of time today, so I'll just nick out a bit earlier. It's nice to kind of get set up in the daylight. I mentioned earlier the tides are big, weather-wise. Complete contrast from the past few days. We've had gale force winds and snow, so this is really nice to be out. It's not a breath of wind at the moment. It is -3, I think, or -4, I think the car said, but because there's no wind, it's just not cold. I'm really hoping I can get out onto that island later. I'm not going to push it. I don't want to risk anything, especially by myself. Yeah, here we go, fish. There's a cormorant just behind those waves there. It's not spending very much time on the surface, so I'm assuming it's having a good feed. It's unusual to see them so close to shore at this time of the year. I mean, it's not as if there's sand eels around or anything. You can just see it there. Well, after this cast, I'm going to move and try and get onto that little piece of rock there. You can see where the waves are breaking over the skier I want to fish. Well, until I can get on the island anyway. That way I can chase the tide out quite nicely. Getting some really good hits, lifted into it, and I had a fish on for sure. As soon as it broke the surface, it came off. I think I'm going to pack up now and head out onto that little bit of skier that's visible. So much you can pick up, but there's actually a lot more of the skier visible here, so I'm going to try and pick my way along. It's pretty flat, but you do get sections of reasonable holes in it. Don't really know how far I want to go. Oh, wet. But the further I go, the less I have to move until later on. So I'm just going to pick my way across here. The swell's small enough that I'm protected by this ledge here from any bigger waves. It looks like there's a little area over there that's out of the waves. Take me time. And we're across that bit. This looks like a good enough spot at the moment. I'm on a little platform here. There's sea on all sides of us, but I know the tide's going out. I'm pretty safe here. In fact, I'm totally safe. Right, let's get some of this frozen carp out. Should ideally be using it with some squid or something, or putting it in the squid, but I haven't got any squid, so it's frozen. It should whip nicely to it. Speaking of whipping, thought I'd lost my elastic there. Got about 8 worms on because they're so bloody small, and I'm using 5/0s, so they're not exactly small hooks, but I've whipped some carp on there. It's hanging on the hook pretty well. And before anyone says you shouldn't use carp in Northumberland, check out the fisheries website because it's now allowed. Alright, let's get this out. I could probably wade a little way here, like, but I don't need to cast too far. Definitely don't want to fall down a hole. Oh, there's one. So I'm just going to whack it out here. Second bait in the water. I'm quite excited to be out on this skier at such a high point in the tide. Oh, it's getting quite a lot of rod tip movement there. Must be in the kelp. Must have found the rocks. But yeah, it means the water that I'm fishing into is a lot deeper than I usually do get on this mark. That tend to fish it at lower on a low tide, but low tide's not for another 3 hours yet. So hopefully that carp and a load of fresh blow lugs going to bring in the fish. Come on! So tackle wise, I'm using the Penn Battle 3 8000 LC version, which means long cast. I've got 78 pound Daiwa J Braid on that. And my rod is a Any Fish Anywhere GB FS Pro, which is rated at 200 grams, which is 7 ounces, and I'll chuck that happily with a big bait on as well. 14 foot smashing rod, or good happy medium anyway, between a 15 foot and the classic 13 foot that we use up here in the northeast, although it's not cheap, so you'd hope it to be. Just while we're on, actually, I want to say a big thanks to the kind offer from Dave. Thanks, Dave, legend. I really appreciate that offer. And Paul, I'll buy a Cronenberg when the pub's open, mate. Well, I've been doing this a fair bit recently. I'm going to check my phone, see whereabouts I am on the skier, what I'm fishing into. Yeah, I can see I'm way off the edge of the skier here, so probably going to get snagged. I'm casting to this here, which is good. I'm right in the middle of pretty much where I want to be honest. Tide's moved out enough that I can move all my kit further forwards. It looks like that it's my line is on right on the edge of the skier, so hopefully by moving a bit further forwards it should change the angle, and I haven't got a risk of ruining my braid on a barnacle. This is where I was fishing the other week. My little casting platform there. Right, well, let's bring this in. It's had about, oh, I don't know, way longer than I usually like to leave it. 40 minutes or so. Give it a drag being tighter. Snag. So that was my second cast, and the bait has been stripped. Glad I brought it in. I think what I'm going to do is have another cast here. It's 7:15, so it's 2 hours now till low tide. For the moment I still can't get out of that island, so I have another cast here, wait for the water to drop a bit more, and then make a decision on whether to go to the island or fish further over at the edge of this skier, because there's not much swell, so it's safe enough, unlike the other night when it was a little rough for getting along there. So let's get some more bait on. Right in the face. These aren't even long enough to cover my hook. Well, the good thing about it being so cold is that it's taking a long time for my cart to defrost. Oh, it stinks, this stuff. Didn't want to lob that too far. It's actually a big bank of rock on the other side. I'm trying to hit and get into the gully, so I wasn't 100% there. Well, it's third cast in. Now the tide's dropping. There's a big pile of rocks on the far side of me, which are maybe about 40 or 50 meters away. So probably, I don't know, put about 50% effort into that. And kind of cast at maybe 11 o'clock to where I'm standing, just to try and get into the gully. Obviously if the gully's that sort of shape, I want my bait to be right at the bottom of that, not in the shallow water on the far side. After looking back at one of my previous videos of fishing on the rough ground, when I lost all my braid, if you haven't seen it, I'll leave a link in the description below. But pretty much spooled half of my braid, and I hadn't caught a fish all night, and as soon as I did a short cast, straight onto the fish. So I'd obviously been casting over them most of the night. Got to learn my lesson and not thump it as far as I can every time. Oh, it's come back. So I've just been getting a load of little hits there, which is a good sign. It's the first action I've had since I got onto the rocks here. Just moved my rod a little bit, see if I was in a snag or not, but I wasn't. I was in some heavy ground though. It's not super heavy, but it's heavy enough. Just gonna kind of leave that and hope it develops. Right, good sign. It's nice to have some more interaction from a fish compared to the last cast, which was just out. Three good solid pull downs. Definitely fish about. No, not yet. I've just had some good hits, but alright.
Watch your videos all the time.
Oh, nice one. Cheers.
I've always been home to see you when we've been out fishing. I've seen a video now when you were fishing the beach. Was it last year or the year before in the winter?
Yes, well, a shout out, Mick, are you?
Aye.
Big Mick from Manta and his apprentice.
Just had a canny hit there. I missed it typically. Just talking to one of the fellas there who's come down. He's a subscriber. He says he's watched all my videos. He was talking about the island and says it's probably still a bit rough for fishing the back of it, which is where you want to be ideally. So I'm going to listen to Big Mick from Walker and his apprentice. Stay on here, I reckon. I had a pretty good thump there and I wound into it, and it's absolutely tiny codlin. Thought it'd come off, in all honesty. I lost my lead, which is fine. Got a bit of a bloodshot eye, not sure if you can see that. Let's get him back. Not the biggest of fish, but it can only get bigger, I guess. It's not been tough, but I honestly thought I'd have a few more fish by now since I've been here, what, 3 hours? This is my first fish, but don't mind, we're out fishing, that's the main thing. Alright, so I'm at my new casting position, and there's a ledge right in front of us, which I'm going to walk along just to cast out from. Probably fish off here actually. Oh, it is empty. The third bait in the water, no, fourth, sorry, and this place is completely emptying out. I don't know how deep the water is that I'm casting into, but you know, just caught a fish on the last cast, so it might not matter. It's dark and the water is manky. It's just moved slightly, sort of 20 meters up the way, so I wasn't fishing over a big ledge. Let's give this half an hour and see what occurs. This is what I'm dealing with. It goes, you probably can't see this on the camera, but it goes off into the distance. I think there's like a really big ledge in front of us. All that twinkling there, that's all kelp fronds. Well, it's a real struggle fest tonight. Like, it's had a really positive pull down, but nothing doing. Fish didn't come back. It's pretty tricky conditions at the moment, fishing amongst all this weed. Half tempted to move, don't know where I'd go, to be honest, with the conditions and everything. All I can do is stick it out. Low tides in half an hour. Once it starts filling up again, hopefully that'll make it easier to fish. But real struggle fest at the minute. Come on, they're really good hits as well. Almost look like Coley hits, so that, but I can't imagine Coley being in this water at the moment. Just had quite a large set of waves come through. I don't know if it's true or not, but from my surfing days, whenever the biggest set came around a time of low tide or high tide, that was kind of signified the start of the tide moving again. So I think we're probably past slack water, and the tide's going to be pushing in, rising up now. So I'm going to bring this in. I'll see what remains of my rig when I get in, and then whack a big bait on. I got everything back, and there's still quite a lot of bait on there. Bugger, I should have left it out for a bit longer. Just chatting to Big Mick from Walker. His apprentice has just fallen in the water and filled his waders up, and his bars are soaking, so they're away home. We haven't caught out up the end, so it's a slow night. Like, the tide started pushing in now, so I hope it's going to turn the fish on a bit more. It's great meeting people who subscribe, well, follow my channel. Mick was just saying that he'd given up fishing, and then he started watching my videos and decided to get back into it. So it's really humbling to be able to be a shit angler like myself and be able to inspire someone who's used to fishing club matches and catching big fish in Norway and things. So nice to meet you, Mick. And the apprentice. That's all he ever called himself, the apprentice. Come on, fish. And my tripod's now in water, but more importantly, all this water's coming up behind us. It's starting to backfill, so I've probably got about 20 minutes on here before I get pushed off completely. Right, well, it's really starting to fill up behind us now, so time to move back. Whoa. So I end up like Mick's mate, falling down a hole. Well, I really don't know why it's not fishing well. Yeah, everything's right. You know, there's a good swell on. It's a big tide. It's a big rising tide as well, which always finds a bonus. There's no moon, and the water is manky, so I just don't get it. It seems like the perfect conditions. Complete different session since the last time that I was here, where I had, what, 3 fish and 3 casts, 5 fish altogether over the night, and I've had 1 fish, I dropped 1 as well, and it's 11 o'clock. Been here 6.5 hours. Why? Come on, fish. Hey, did say about an hour ago that these bites look more like coley bites than cod bites, but I did say that I didn't think there'd be any around in this shallow water, but obviously I was wrong. Just a little coley as well. Small mouths, I don't know how he managed to get a 4-0 in there, but there we go. Stink! Oh god. Oh, head even. Well, I stuck it out for another 2.5 hours after that coley, and didn't even get a bite. Yeah, I was dead excited. I thought, oh, it's going to be a cracking night, you know, conditions are really good. But yeah, wasn't to be, unfortunately. One bonus was meeting Mick and the kind words he said about the channel and me being able to inspire him to go fishing again, which is just great, really. Fishing wise, dropped that fish at the beginning of the night, then had that tiny little Tommy, and then a coley, or a shipfish as I like to call them. But other than that, not much. I missed a good few bites, but I think they were coleys because it wasn't the usual sort of pull down from a cod that you get, a slow sort of pull. It was more like just like a sort of smash and grab, which is what a typical coley bite looks like. But still, it kept us going, you know. And it's 2 o'clock, so I've been out 10 hours, something like that. Anyway, a long time. I kind of think about it because it's -6. Still, it's much better being out fishing than not, and I can appreciate that there's thousands and thousands of us anglers who just can't fish at the moment. So I'm really fortunate to be able to. Hopefully, people watching my videos, and I know some have commented that it's kind of keeping them sane in this crazy time, and at least I can give something back. So if you enjoyed the video, as ever, give it a thumbs up and smash the subscribe button for us. Hit the bell as well so you know when I post the next video, and leave a comment, please do. And until the next one, tight lines.